In this video, we're going to learn a little bit about stop motion animation. Let's take a look at an example. All right, so that was definitely a great example of stop motion animation. Can you describe how they may have created that? So what is stop motion animation? It's a filmmaking technique where the appearance of motion is created by playing images with slight changes one after the other. This is actually how filmmaking began. Let's take a look at this video of made in 1878 of the world's first motion picture movie. You'll notice it's just a simple image of a horse galloping. Now it slows down and we can see each frame is just slightly different. And then once it starts to speed up, we get the impression that the horse is actually moving. This can be done in Google Slides even. So let's say this is my first frame. And I'm going to show you actually the way that this would look. So here, if you look on the side of the screen here, these are all of my frames. And see how they're slightly different one after the other? Each one played one after the other will create a type of animation. So let's take a look at what that would look like if I played it for you. With every click of the mouse, the frame changes and creates the impression of movement. Yay. There are lots of types of stop motion animation. Claymation, for example, is one of the more popular kinds that you may have seen before. In this type of stop motion animation, sculptures are created and then changed slightly, and then photographed, and then changed slightly, and then photographed, and then changed slightly, and then photographed, and then changed slightly, and then you get the idea. Here is an example of a TV show called Gumby from 1967. Let's take a look at what this kind of stop motion animation, early kinds of stop motion animation look like. So for that one, you see that it's a simple character that is moved kind of like simply, arm movements, a little bit of facial movements. As time's gone on, though, we have gotten so much better at creating more and more lifelike and interesting stop motion animation. Maybe you've seen The Nightmare Before Christmas. That is also a claymation stop motion animation film. I'm going to speed it up a little bit here. There we go.
Welcome to an extraordinary world filled with magic and wonder. Open your mind and let yourself go to a place where every day is Halloween and every night Jack Skellington.
I am the Pumpkin King!
Dream.
So you can see the characters are getting even more sophisticated in the 90s with claymation. A lot more detail, a lot more facial expressions, a lot more of the characters moving around, jumping even. Now, you may have seen this movie. It's on Netflix right now, Paranorman. Let's take a look at how one of these creatures or one of these sculptures is created in present day time. So first they create their sketch. This is the internal skeleton or the armature. Got lots of different joints in there so they can move it, make tiny, tiny adjustments to the movement. Casting the body now. The head is almost like a robot with all sorts of little tiny gears and places for adjustments included.
Norman!
Yo, Norman!
Norman, wait up!
Norman, what are you doing?
Norman?
Norman! Step away from the zombie!
The dead are coming! Norman!
So there you can see they have definitely come a long way when it comes to creating claymation stop motion animation. There are other types of stop motion animation as well. Another type of stop motion animation is object motion. This is where stop motion is created using everyday objects. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, so there you see the objects are changed slightly, photographed, changed slightly again, and photographed again to create the appearance of movement. Another type of stop motion animation is cutout motion. And this is where people use cutout pieces of paper in the same way. They take a picture, they move it, they take a picture, they move it to create the appearance of motion. So let's take a look at an example of this. All right. The last type of stop motion animation I'd like to show you is called pixelation. And this is where you create stop motion animation by taking pictures of people and moving them slightly, and then taking a picture again and then moving them slightly. Let's take a look at an example of that.
a slipper by the fireplace, a cello light in its case.
So there are lots of different ways to approach stop motion animation. We're going to be using Google Slides. So there are lots of different ways to approach stop motion animation, but no matter how you do it, there are some tips that can help you to have a more successful film. For example, the more frames or pictures you take, the longer your scene will be. The more gradual the changes in each frame, the smoother the movement will look. And it's always helpful to tell a story.